Go, 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 go.
3, 2, 1, 4 tires.
Still there, inside.
What a jump, what a jump.
The track is wet, it's good.
Still there, clear.
3, 2, 1. Green flag, green flag.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fort and Field podcast. I'm your host, Dom Capolupo, joined by Steve Ray, Wesley Riddle, and Sam Dooley. We are here for a Team Trackhouse preview, 2026 team preview. Another episode in the preview series. Trackhouse will get right into it. Their drivers this season will be Ross Chastain, Connor Zilisch, and Shane Van Gisbergen. Two things to note: Connor Zilisch will be driving the 88 that SVG ran last year, and SVG will be switching up to the 97 this year. The number he kind of grew up racing with is kind of his family number, so some importance there for SVG. Now, in 2025, Trackhouse as a whole had 112 races, 6 wins, 11 top 5s, 26 top 10s. They had an average finish of 19.5. They had an average start of 21.8. They had 3 poles, and they had 430 laps led. Now, with the addition of Zilisch, you lose Daniel Suarez, who was in the 99 car, was the first driver for Trackhouse Racing when they started it up in 2021. Now, we'll go into the now longest tenured driver at Trackhouse, Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain started every race, all 36 races. He finished 10th in the standings in 2025. He had 1 win, that being in the Coca-Cola 600. He had 4 top 5s, 12 top 10s, an average finish of 15.81, an average start of 19.0. He did not get a pole. He had 4 DNFs, and he had 83 laps led. Now, compared to 2024, Ross Chastain, he went from 19th in the points up to 10th. He had 1 win in 2024. He had 2 more top 5s in 2024. He had 2 more top 10s in 2024. His average finish was just a little better at 14.94. His average start was 3 spots better with a 15.8. He had a pole in 24, had the same DNFs with 4, and he had 311 laps led in 2024. But the big thing is Chastain, in his first 4 seasons at Trackhouse Racing, has been able to pick up a victory each and every season. Now, it seems like 2025 was a little bit of a dip in performance for the one team, but they did make the playoffs and did get a top 10, spot in the points. That was about the only thing they improved on, but it was kind of a disappointing season, I'd say, after the Coca-Cola 600.
Yeah, I would agree. We were there obviously in person to watch him win the Coca-Cola 600, and the drive that he had at the end of the race, not only to catch William Byron, but to go around and take the lead and go on to win that race. That was, as I look back on 2025, the only thing I can really remember Ross Chastain doing. Looking at these stats, I mean, aside from finishing 9 spots better in the points, thanks to the win that got him into the playoffs, it was, in a sense, kind of a regressed year for the one team, especially being in 22 and 23. He was one of the most consistent drivers, running top 5, top 10. Really thought that that was going to be consistent in the years going forward. But it seems like now they've kind of hit a point where they're stalling out a little bit. So it's going to be, this is kind of like we've talked about with some other drivers. I don't think it's going to be a make or break point to where he's on the hot seat of getting replaced. But I just think performance wise, this is kind of the year where they need to show some improvement on these statistics, especially now with going to the chase format. If they want to be considered a legit championship threat and a title contender. I mean, 4 top 5s, 12 top 10s is not going to do it. An average finish of almost 16th, that's not going to do it. Borderline even being able to get to the top 16 in points. So I do hope that they're able to improve on these statistics in order for Ross to be a legit title contender.
Yeah, it's really interesting looking at Ross Chastain for all the reasons that Steve just said and that Dom just said. Like, it kind of feels like it's been going a little downhill. I just want to kind of bounce off of you guys, just the idea that it's floated around a lot about him peeling back his aggressive nature that he had. To start, he started out. Everyone was like, "This guy's wild." Like when he first got in the Cup Series, like he was doing all these moves and doing all this stuff. He was wrecking everyone. Everyone got pissed off at him, and eventually he kind of just like toned it down. And I mean, personally, I don't really think that would have that much to do with it. That's kind of just a maturity thing. But I didn't know what you guys would think around like the whole idea that him toning it down is like somehow making him a worse driver.
Yeah, I think you have to look at Trackhouse as a whole. Just the speed the last year or two has just not been there. And on a consistent basis, at least, they have that one race where the one team seems to just kind of come out flying. Whether it's, that win at Phoenix in 23, the win at Kansas in 2024, in the playoffs when they were a non-playoff driver, or last year at the Coca-Cola 600, where they took a backup car, started dead last, and was able, to run the entire 400 laps. And it took almost all 400 laps to get to the lead, but they had the speed to basically go from last to first. Now, they just need to sustain more success on the ovals. Well, because when you look at SVG, he kind of carries that team on the road courses, and we'll talk about that later. But on the ovals, getting one win as an organization is not going to cut it if they want to keep up with the likes of 23XI, which is their biggest kind of competition because both teams entered the sport at the same time. And it seems like both teams are kind of ascending at the same level. So to see Trackhouse, they need to get some more speed behind that one team to get Ross up into championship contention again.
And you've been able to kind of tell just from 2022, the first year of the next gen, it seemed like, of course, all the teams were a little bit more on the same level. And it seems like the further we've gone away from that, you've kind of seen the divide. And last year's a really strong example, Chastain winning one race, Bubba Wallace winning one race. So the two teams only having 2 wins to share. After looking pretty hot, I feel like earlier, I feel like there were some brighter moments that each of the drivers had in the years closer to the first year of the next gen. Yeah, looking at it, it's crazy to think, Dom, you and I were in attendance for his last 2 top 5s of the season, the 600, where Steve, you were with us, and then at Martinsville, which was the second to last race of the season. So it's he's a content driver. He's incredibly talented. I mean, you put him in a faster car like at Hendrick or Joe Gibbs, even Penske, I think he would be up there easily contending for a championship 4 spot. But you have all touched on it, just not really the equipment being there to where it needs to be. And it's more of a team thing, I feel like, than a driver thing, because we all know Ross does have the talent. And just for him putting himself in a position to win the championship the first year he was with Trackhouse, I mean, it shows exactly what he's capable of as a driver. So I think he could definitely get a win in 26. We'll talk about that. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that the year after Charlotte didn't go his way.
The over-aggression that he had in 2022, it kind of stemmed from he raced up front a lot. So he's, making moves inside the top 10 and being over-aggressive about it and overstepping here and there, and in 2023 as well. But the last 2 seasons, what's he going to do? Just start wrecking people trying to pass for 20th? It's just, that's kind of, I think, more or less, it's Ross being smarter about, it's just not worth making enemies in 20th as opposed to maybe running inside the top 5 and trying to get those extra spots to try to win like he was in those first 2 years at Trackhouse. Now, with Ross Chastain, I put the line here is, do we think Ross Chastain will get a top 10 position in the point standings at the end of the season?
I do. I think Ross, when he's able to run consistently, and he is one of those drivers that seems to be either putting together consistent good finishes or consistent bad finishes. So if he can, first of all, make the top 16, get to that reset, I think he is one of those drivers that can go on like a nice top 10 streak or not put themselves in more harm's way or doing further damage. So I think he is a guy that can put together just some 8th to 10th to 15th place runs week after week after week and can start to chain together some good runs in the chase. And I do think that that would end up getting him a good top 10 spot in the points. So I'll say yes.
I'm gonna go yes as well. Steve made some really great points, and I mean I kind of echo everything that he kind of said. Yeah, Ross is one of those guys that you can see him going on a streak at any point. Because even though Trackhouse did underperform this year, he still seemed to show up in the playoffs when he needed to. Um, Not obviously not to the level that we were expecting him to after the last few years, but even with a bum Trackhouse year where obviously they only won the SVG races, um, it seemed like Ross was able to step up in those last few playoff races and in a chase format. I think that he showed a lot of consistency in those last few races too. So I think that he could definitely be in the top 10 come the end of the chase.
It'll be a matter of getting stage points. I feel like that was a big issue that he had throughout the regular season last year, just not really being up front in the first half of races. And he's really good at being able to just get the best of what the car has. Unfortunately, last year, where a lot of times, the best was like 15th place. Um, he will have a new crew chief this year. I think he's coming over from Hendrick Motorsports. I think that could be a benefit. I think Connor Zilisch coming over is going to be a benefit. That's incredible talent, which we'll talk about, but with just great resource that I think will help the team dynamic. Um, I say all that just because I do think Ross can finish top 10, even with fewer stage points. It's going to be borderline, but I would take the yes. I'll say yes by maybe like 9th or 10th place in points.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say no. There's too many good teams and more consistent teams that could fire off wins, which is more important. And Ross, right now, he's good for one win maybe, and that's you're gonna need to win if you're gonna be finishing top 10 in points, just with the bump in total points for winning. So I'll go outside the top 10 for Ross Chastain.
Well, that is going to transition us over to our 2025 Rookie of the Year, and that's going to be Shane Van Gisbergen, who was driving the 88 car, now is going to be transitioning to the 97. When they announced this, if you haven't seen that video, when they kind of sat everybody down and had a video around all of their numbers, Shane Van Gisbergen's dad had a nice message to him about the importance of the 97. So if you haven't seen that, they posted that a few months ago, but I'd highly encourage to go check it out because that is definitely a tearjerker for sure. But Shane Van Gisbergen, our rookie of the year from 2025, ended the year with 5 wins on the year, all of them coming at road courses. That would be Mexico City, the Chicago Street Course, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and the Charlotte Roval, which coincidentally were his 5 top 5s of the year. But he did get 2 additional races to end the year with 7 top 10s, an average finish of 21st, an average start right around there, around 22nd spot, 3 poles, 4 DNFs, 312 laps led. For a rookie, obviously 5 wins is very, very impressive, even more so winning 5 of the 6 road course races. And he was in contention and running top 5 most of the race at COTA. So he was right there at the end and could have swept all the road course races. Just a note here that 6 career Cup Series road course wins would put SVG 4th all time behind Jeff Gordon, who has 9, Tony Stewart with 8, and Chase Elliott with 7. So a 6th road course win, actually with his wins at his first career start, that would put him 4th all time. So SVG would tie Jeff Gordon's record of 6 consecutive road course wins if he wins this upcoming year at COTA. And then if he goes and wins COTA and Watkins Glen, he would break the record for most consecutive road course wins. So overall, I mean, we knew that SVG was going to be this good on road courses. I think the bigger question mark was going to be how is he going to perform on ovals. We knew that, especially in a playoff format, that he was going to win one or multiple races on road courses to get his way. It's just going to be how well can he perform at the oval tracks to progress his way through the playoffs. You look at the first, I would say, third of the season, and it was about what we suspected. It was just horrifically slow, but it was around, I mean, he ran top 15 at the Coke 600, and really since like the Coke 600, we've noticed that with a few drivers that seemed to be the turning point. And it wasn't perfect by any means, but you definitely noticed that from the first time that SVG was at a track, let's say somewhere like Bristol or Vegas, right? From the way that he ran and performed in the first race to the second time that they went back, there was a significant improvement in the performance of it. You look at tracks like his drafting style. He ran just outside the top 10 at Talladega in the playoffs. He was running top 15 at Martinsville. Like, these are not easy feats for a rookie, especially with someone with a heavy road course background like SVG. So the improvement that he had in the second half of the year on the ovals was definitely a positive gain all in all. And I think now that he's got a full year of the next gen Cup car under him, I think he's going to improve on those oval statistics even more going into 2026. So yes, he is definitely going to be a contender for all of the road course races. But I do think now, I don't think he's going to go out and win an oval, but I think where we were seeing him run 30th to 35th, I think we're going to see that be closer to maybe a 20th. And I think that for the 97 team is very achievable, and a realistic goal is just, hey, let's try to get out of these oval races with a top 20, and he will certainly be kind of the biggest storyline, I think, for 2026, being with the points format now in a chase format. It's not guaranteed a win and you're in. So certainly his performance at the road courses are going to help him, but it's going to be how will they run on the ovals, and can that get them close enough to the bubble of 16th to make their way into the chase.
Yeah, like Steve was talking about, the biggest thing with SVG obviously is the lack of oval experience, and I was really impressed by the end of the season for SVG because of how consistent he was on ovals. And one of the big things that you look at is his average start and his average finish. They're right at about the same. So when I know, it can get skewed because he was so good on road courses, and then he was kind of bad at the beginning and kind of got better on ovals as it went along. But all you could really ask from someone is to, one, get better, which he did all season, and then two, he brought the car back at least where he started or better. Usually, like, it usually wasn't a, hey, I had a great qualifying session, I'm in 15th, and now, oh goodness, I have a 35th place car. Like, it was, if they missed, they missed, or if he didn't have it, he didn't have it, and it was kind of like a weekend long thing. Or, if he had it, he was usually at his start place or in front of it. So it was really fun to watch his progression throughout the year on ovals, because it was blatantly obvious that he was learning at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Like, I wish that we could have gotten to see SVG younger, because obviously he's now already kind of an elder statesman of the series. He's in his mid to late 30s, right? He's however old, I don't know, I can't find it, but he's not exactly the young spry chicken, but he did show some promise this year, and I'm excited to see how he builds on it. Maybe not next year will be the year I expect him to be consistent, make the chase, and make a run at it, but I think if he keeps learning at this rate, he could be up there with the big boys come 2027 easily.
Yeah.
It'll be tough, I think, just for him to be able to crack ahead of a lot of the guys that are just able to round the mile and a halves. Like the Hendricks and Penske's and Joe Gibbs, and um, it's going to be a challenge, but it is doable. I feel like if there's a driver that can show improvement, and that did, it was SVG, like you both mentioned, that second half of the year. It's going to be exciting to see how the new playoff format, or I guess the chase format, is gonna work out this year, just because he's a driver that, going from the playoffs to what we have with the chase in 26, it's not to what Trackhouse really signed him up for. I feel like Trackhouse, kind of made that investment hoping that the playoffs would stick around, because he is a playoff like beast. He could be a playoff beast if they kept the playoffs, right? Just being able to figure out the formula and being able to take advantage of it with the road courses throughout the regular season. But it's going to shape up interesting just to see where he'll finish in points, if he can make it or not. But yeah, if we keep seeing improvement, I feel like it's going to be definitely achievable, and it could be this year. Just need to see how he, is able to maintain his position throughout a race. I feel like maintaining is more important. He overdrives the car a good bit, and for understandable reason, coming from supercars, but he needs to kind of hone that in a little bit. Not saying in the same path as Ross, where, when he kind of took it away, a lot of people thought it was just because, you know, he took away his driving style, the aggressiveness. It seemed like he kind of lost some of the luster that he had to compete up front. Is that going to be the same case if SVG kind of toned in a little bit and just kind of cleaned up, times where he didn't need to be over aggressive? Um, that may happen. They may not. Um, but I think overall, yeah, he's going to be a dangerous threat if he continues to show improvement like he has.
All right, so let's just answer the question. Do we think SVG will make the chase?
And I could see this going either way, because he's going to be really good on the road courses, obviously, score a lot of stage points. You're going to get those extra points for winning a race, but it's really going to come down to how are you going to do in the stages on the ovals, and where are you going to finish on the ovals. And when you start to stack up 16 drivers against each other, it wouldn't surprise me if he did, but it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't. I think we're going to see SVG around that 16th to 20th in points. However, for the sake of the question, I feel like he's going to be one of those first two drivers probably out. So I'm going to say no.
I'm probably gonna go with no as well. Like I said, I have really high hopes for SVG, and I really do think that another year of the growth that he's shown, obviously it'll probably slow down at some point. Like, you can't exponentially grow in knowledge, but I think, like Steve said, he'll be around that bubble. He'll be in the fight because he'll score. I mean, I assume he'll get max points, if not close to max points, every single road course that we go to, because he's just that head and shoulders above the field, and I don't see people catching up to him really. because I don't think that's really a necessity that people feel like they need to learn that. That's a skill that they need to learn. But I do think that he'll be a contender, and I definitely think that at ovals, like I said, he'll continue to show growth. And I mean, who knows? He could go out and he could be a top 20 car at ovals, and that's all he really needs. Be a top 20 car at every oval that he goes to, and obviously win all of the road courses like everyone kind of assumes he's going to, and he could easily be in the chase. So it'll all just kind of come down to what we see from him kind of to start the season on the oval side of things, and then just kind of go from there. But I'm gonna go with no, just because that's what my gut's telling me.
I feel like I'm on board with both of you. I'm going to say no. Part of the reason being, I don't think. I mean, he's incredible at super speedways. Don't get me wrong. Or I'm sorry, the road courses, and he always has a chance to win at super speedways. But I feel like it's going to be very difficult for him to replicate every year a 5-win road course season, or season victory. I just don't know if he can get 5 wins every year. Obviously, he's going to be the fastest, but it's a matter of getting to the finish line first. I'm not sure that's going to happen every time. And then also, if you think about stages, right, a lot of the times SVG plays the cards to win the race. You see a lot of strategy when the caution comes out for the stage. Then he ends up missing on a lot of stage points. He could take the gamble knowing the formula this year and try to get stage points because he knows he might miss out on them at other tracks, but then it may take him away from getting the win and the bonus 20 extra points over the field. I think that there's some factors with how the races will play out, and then just the ability to be able to win 5 races out of 6 or 6 of 6 road courses. That's just very hard to do without, he can do it, but circumstances could take him out. So I'm going to say no.
So it definitely feels like I've been saying this a lot on these preview pods, but you got to go with it until prove to me that he won't win 5 races on the road courses. And that was enough. There was someone posted the points from 2017 to 2024 using the new chase format, and SVG made the chase under this format in 2025. So why would it stop now? I think if he wins 4 to 5 races, that is over 200 points right there. And if he keeps his progression that he was, going towards at the end of last season, there's no reason he can't average 17th to 18th place finishes, which I think would be enough to keep him in the top 16 going into the chase. Now, he would be a low seed and he'd have no shot at the championship, but I do think he'll make the chase.
That brings it to me, who I have the new guy, Connor Zilisch. Yay! So looking at his stats for 2025 in the Cup Series, he had 3 starts with an average finish of 23.67. Hey, and an average start of 27.7 with 1 DNF. His start at Coda, he finished 14th. Or started 14th, finished 37th. The Coke 600, he started 33rd and finished 23rd. And in Atlanta, he started 36th and finished 11th. The note that we have on here is that Zilisch is coming off of arguably the greatest O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, season of all time that featured a run of 18 consecutive top 5s. That run included a stretch of 7 wins in 8 races. So, looking at Zilisch, obviously, he's the most highly touted prospect that I think we've had in NASCAR since I honestly don't know. He is, there's no one that I can really compare him to of how hyped that he is and how much he's backed it up. right? Because there's been a lot of guys that have gotten a lot of hype and they show it and then like they show flashes, but they're not like no one's ever been that dominant. Obviously, the note said that it was a historical season from the '88 group. Now, does a lot of that have to do with him racing JRM cars? I mean, it doesn't hurt to be in the fastest car in the field when you are the fastest driver. Looking forward to 2026, I'm not gonna put expectations on him to show up and like be a title contender or a title favorite, especially with how Trackhouse did last year. I expect him to show up. I expect him to perform at what that car is capable of doing, which Trackhouse has shown. At least if it's the same results as last year, they were a 15th to 20th place car most weeks, and then every once in a while, a driver that was good at a certain track could wheel their way up to top 10, or they got wins, of course, at road courses, which I feel like, of course, will be really hard to get because you're going up against your teammate in the same equipment in SVG, who is far and away the best road course racer in NASCAR right now. But my expectations really for Connor are just to show up, don't wreck the car, log as many laps as you can. It's the normal rookie stuff that you hear. Log as many laps as you can, get experience. Don't think that because of how good everyone says you're going to be that you have to be that guy right now. Because you don't. You've got a long career. He's like 19 or something, like 20. Like he's like not even old enough to drink yet. And like we don't need to expect him to be the 2026 NASCAR champion. And I think he needs to make sure not to put pressure on himself to be that guy. And with that, I think that as long as he gains experience, I could see him rattling off a win, just because of the talent that's there. If the car is right and he's right on a certain weekend, I definitely think that he'll be up there competing with SVG at road courses for sure. But I think if you're Connor Zilisch, you just need to focus on showing up every day. Follow the example of the older guys in the organization. Obviously, calling Ross Chastain an older guy feels a little weird, but he's a veteran. He's been here. He's done that for a few years now at a premier program that Trackhouse at least was, right? So it's just important that he shows up. He sees what it's like to be a professional, and he understands that he doesn't have to be the best driver in NASCAR right now. That time will come. I do believe that time will come, but I don't think that he needs to do that right now, and kind of not necessarily burn himself out, but kind of get too much pressure on yourself in your head. He just needs to show up, do the work, run all the laps, and let the chips fall where they may, and just try and do his best every week.
Yeah, it's the big thing with Connor Zilisch this year. It's important for him, and it's also important for the fans. It is highly, highly unlikely that he's going to replicate the season that he had last season in, I keep wanting to call it Xfinity, in the O'Reilly Series. He's not going to have a 10-win Cup season in his rookie year. Very, very unlikely that something like that happens. So I think you have to set realistic expectations for him. I mean, he's only 19 years old. And like you said, Sam, I think the number one thing that you have to focus on this year is just running all the laps. That's going to be, you're not going to get any experience on the track if you're in the garage. So number one goal is to run all the laps. And then obviously, as you start to get more comfortable with the car, with working with your team, with getting prepared for making it to the big leagues, because it is a noticeable jump from the O'Reilly series to the Cup level. This is the big boy series now, and he certainly deserves it. He certainly has the talent to run in the Cup series on a weekly basis. It's just, I hope he doesn't I hope he doesn't get like a crash of reality and start to negatively take that out on himself. You have to realize that not very many 19-year-olds get a shot at a full-time cup ride, nor do many 19-year-olds have the talent that he does to have a full-time cup ride. So certainly this year, number one, please, Connor, do not get hurt this year. You went through too many things last year, and so making sure just being there for all the races, running all the laps, get experience, and just let the chips fall where they are. And I think this will be a good learning year for Connor. And I think what we're going to see out of Connor this year is going to emulate a lot of SVG on the ovals from last year. Is that it's probably going to be a little bit of a struggle the first quarter to third of the year. But I do think when Connor starts to come back to these tracks a second time and a third time, I do think we're going to see improvement. So I think look at how his stats are after the first half compared to the second half, and I think we will see improvement from Connor this year.
I think there were a couple things that really helped him last year. He made 3 starts in the Cup Series. The 2 that caught my eye were the race that we were there for, the Coke 600. That's the longest race, and it was super important, I feel like, for him to get that seat time, just to be able to be behind the wheel, try to race 400 laps. It's grueling, it's competitive, it's I feel like one of the best representations of what the car can do in packs and how it is to race in the back of the field. And for him, obviously, that car is not prepped to be a full-time car. It's got lower end crew chiefs, it's got lower end pit members, everything. And he was able to learn and get better throughout that entire night. We saw him battling in the very, very back for like the first 100 laps. And then he worked up to kind of the, back half of the 20s, early, front 30s. And then he just got better. And we saw that. And then, of course, Atlanta, his first start that year was Coda crashed out. But Atlanta was the third race and a super speedway. That's another hard track for rookies to learn. They have to ride around a lot. And for him, he was able to get all the laps in because of the big wreck that happened. And I feel like that was important just for him to be able to be on the track, understand the draft, not have to worry about the pressure of getting a win or locking himself into a playoff or a chase, trying to compete for points. He was just able to use that race to learn. Um, he's a driver. Again, I think he could go out there and light the world on fire his rookie year. Now, is Trackhouse the team he could do it at? Not 100% sure. Um, if he was going out there in the 48 car this year, I think he could easily make the championship 4. But he's going to be in a car that's not really up to speed and up to par to his contenders. I just think he's already got the it factor. I think he could go out there and make a statement. But like you said, Steve, I think, yeah, first quarter of the year, it's going to be a learning process. Could he win Coda? It's the third race of the year, 100%. Wouldn't shock me at all. But the mile and a halfs are going to be a challenge. Just with him trying to, find a little bit of a rhythm and just to kind of see, what the team dynamics like, because it's going to be competitive. Ross Chastain, SVG, they're not 2 teammates that are going to give you positions on the track. They're going to fight. They're 2 of the hardest drivers to pass. They're the Ryan Newmans of, this decade. And it's going to be tough for him just to try to go out there and, put it on his teammates, but also, yeah, just ride the wave of momentum that he's had just coming off the Xfinity Series season that he had. Now the O'Reilly Series. So he's gonna be a threat, but it's just gonna be a challenge. And y'all both mentioned it. It's just a matter of just trying to live in the moment and not try to exceed expectations. Don't exceed what the expectations are for you. And I say that because I think Connor, he wants to go out there and win the title his first year. But yeah, just take it slow in the mental game mindset, but still know that you're going to be the guy. Just give it, let the process play out a little bit.
All right. So, question is, A, will Connor Zilisch win this season in his rookie year? And B, will he make the chase?
I'm going to say no to both. Not that he's not capable of doing it. I just think that rookies typically, majority of the time, it's such a steep learning curve going from your lower series to the Cup Series. Ask me again in 27, and I think I'll have a different answer. But I think just focusing on this upcoming year, I think no wins, no chase.
I'm gonna probably say the same thing as Steve. I'm gonna go no wins and no chase. Now, would I be surprised if Connor Zilisch does come out and win, say, a road course? Well, first of all, if it was a road course, I would be surprised he's up there. Would be surprised that he beat SVG though. But I mean, I still wouldn't be shocked at that because the kid's damn good. We saw it at Watkins Glen when he was battling with SVG. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did win a race. I wouldn't be surprised if he made the chase. It all really kind of, to me, depends on how Trackhouse does, and where he's at. Because I'm assuming he's going to be the third best Trackhouse car just because of the lack of experience in the car. So I'm thinking that he probably won't, and he probably won't make the chase. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did do both.
I'm gonna say yes and yes. I think, yeah, just him going out there and having a mediocre season, 20th or worse. I just don't think that's the driver caliber he is, and I feel like he doesn't need to really show the stats to prove it. I feel like a lot of people just rely on the stat book, and they're like, well, he doesn't have the starts, but I feel like you can just look at his resume, look at how he's able to learn, look at how fast he's able to pick up on it, and know that he's going to be a guy that can go out there and beat some of these guys that are, you know, later in their careers, some of the guys that just don't have the ride right now and the ability. I just think that he can go out there and get the job done. So I think the San Diego Street Course race, I feel like that's going to be a race where everybody's on the same level, and it wouldn't shock me if he's able to outbeat SVG there or another road course. So give me a win, and I think it wouldn't come as a shock if he beat out his Trackhouse teammates. I think that he's just that good. So yes and yes.
Yeah, Zilisch obviously is a very quick learner, adapts really quickly, and even though the Xfinity Series or O'Reilly Auto Parts Series is not the Cup Series, the level, the competition is just very different. You don't win 10 races, get 18 consecutive top fives by accident, and you don't luck into that. So I gotta imagine he'll find himself competing for a couple wins in the Cup Series, and you gotta think one is gonna fall his way, probably at a road course. And I gotta think, I mean, I can't imagine him running outside the top 20, for the majority of the season. So, you know what? I'm gonna say Connor Zilisch kind of slides into that back end of that chase. Not going to be a championship threat this year, but I really do think he's going to get at least one win and make the chase this year. Now, that was a Trackhouse Racing 2026 team preview. Make sure you're following the Foreign Field podcast on all social media platforms. TikTok, we're almost to 1,000 followers on there, so go over there and follow if you haven't already. We got Instagram, Facebook, X/Twitter, YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment. What do you think of Trackhouse going into 2026? Like the video. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, give the podcast a 5-star rating on there. Leave a comment in there as well. We see it all, so we'd love to interact with you guys that are listening and watching. And for Wes, Steve, Sam, I'm Dom, and we'll see you on Thursday for a Richard Childress Racing 2026 preview.